And hello again, and here we are back at the bike shop, and at last my bike's finished, pretty much anyway. All the wiring's done. There's the Moto Gadget electronic brain, as it were, that's now squished between the seat and the oil tank. Oil tank's been refinished with a ceramic sort of anodizing rather than powder coated as it was. Yeah, so pretty much it's all done. Okay, so to start the bike then, what's going to have to happen is key in.
Key in.
Second position.
Second position.
Lots of lights there, flashing, doing strange things.
And the dash comes on.
Okay, let's just see that now. That works last. Yay! So we've got tacho, speedo, and idiot lights. Okay, so to start the bike then, ignition on.
Yeah, ignition's on.
Fuel on. And decompressor's on. Yeah. No joke according to you. And then we've got these cool buttons here.
Yeah, nice new buttons.
Yeah. Yay! However, there are one or two things to sort out, such as having some new bar ends, because these here are too small to fit, so that's something to do soon. And now here we are, back home again, and I just loaded up that video on my laptop. But now let's talk about something that I've not mentioned yet, and that's money, and the cost of doing all these different mods to the bike. I've just got the receipt here from the bike shop, and I don't know if you can see that there. But basically the total cost of all the work I've had done at the bike shop was £1,065, which actually is a bit cheaper than I expected because they didn't charge me quite the full amount for the labour. But the majority of that amount is from parts, which we can't really do much about, and those parts are things like I needed a new chain when I modified the swing arm, so that's 120. The Moto Gadget M unit was 245. The wiring kit was 53. The switches, which are very nice but very expensive at 120, and then you got little things like brake fluid, wiring consumables, obviously the labour, and it's also having a MOT today as well. And added to that, of course, it's not just that that's been done to the bike. I've also modified the swing arm, and that cost £70 for welding, and then had to get the swing arm re-powder coated, and so that was another £70. And then finally, of course, I also needed a new tacho and speedo for the bike, which was £140. And last of all, I made some new risers for the bike to bring back the bars an inch, and also modified the foot pegs to bring them back a wee bit as well. But that was all done at home, that was all homemade, so total cost was £0. And so, if we add all up, we come to a grand total of £1,445, which actually isn't too bad. I expected it to cost me around £2,000 when I began all these changes in December, so £1,445 is pretty good going. So overall then, that cost of £1,445 is pretty good if you ask me. The bike cost me £25,000, what, 17, 18 years ago, so spending this amount of money on it after all that time isn't too bad. And while modifying a bike that you already own isn't cheap, I think it can be a lot cheaper than going out and buying something like this, a 2018 Fat Bob in the new range. And let's see, that's currently around about £15,495 in Vivid Black. And actually, it's the one bike in the new range that I would consider buying brand new. But if I did do that, then I expect I can lose, what, £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 within the first year in depreciation, which is an awful lot more than I've spent on changing my bike and getting it just how I want for the next few years. So overall then, making changes to a bike you already own can be a lot cheaper than buying a brand new bike every few years. And on that note, thanks for watching and cheers.